Hey, it's Wes. I just wanted to make a real quick video today, kind of continuing our series. We are going around the color wheel, and the next color to talk about is blue. Why blue, though? So basically, if you remember yesterday, whenever we talked about the white, that's kind of a summary. The white decks, we talked about small little creatures. White, of course, top the color wheel. We're just going to go clockwise right around the color wheel. And so now we are at blue. And basically, what we have got going on is why blue? Why would you want to play blue? So here is what blue can do for you. First off, if you take a look, you realize I don't have a ton of blue cards. I am a free-to-play player, so I am kind of limited on what I have and don't have to be able to build a deck just to show you what is capable with the blue card. Now, of course, right now, Strixhaven is really the main release, and currently you'll probably notice if you're looking into the meta, you'll see that there's a lot of multicolored decks, and blue is one of those ones that is a great choice to always blend with another color for some reasons I'll go over in just a moment, but it's also a very good mono blue choice as well. And the reason why a lot of people like to splash a little bit of blue is because there are things that blue does that are very, very good. And one of those things is card draw. Card draw is vital within Magic the Gathering, and if you can get what they call essentially a card advantage in hand, you can win the game by being able to dictate the flow of the game. And that's what blue is trying to do, is trying to control the flow of the game. And so let's look at some of the cards and how they would do this. This miscast here costs 1 blue mana, and it says counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller plays an additional 3 mana. Let's say it's my first couple turns. I'm not going to have an additional 3 mana to be able to play a spell that would help me to be able to get an advantage. And so you're slowing down your opponent. You're making it more difficult for them to win. Opt, once again, getting cards in your hand allows you to scry, which scry is very, very good thing to do all the time, because if you can predict what's coming into your hand, you know if you want to pass on that card and draw the next card or what have you. And so scry is very, very powerful. The fact that this is just a 1-drop and allows you to draw an additional card and to actually peek ahead and see what it is, fantastic. Stern Dismissal. Once again, it's a 1-drop. Return target creature enchantment to an opponent or a creature. If I could English today, English is hard. Return target creature or enchantment an opponent controls to its owner's hand. And let's see here. The next one is Negate. Had to let my cat out. And Negate is a creature spell, non-creature spell orientated counter spell. It allows you to counter a spell. I'm going to give you a perfect example of what this would be great for. Let's say you've got a great creature in play and your opponent is trying to kill it, because if they can't remove that creature, you're going to win the game. And Negate is something that, let's say they try to cast a murder or some kind of direct removal on that creature. You can cast this, counter that spell, it's over, it's done. You protected your creature. As you can see, I don't even have 4 negates, and it's a common. Omen of the Sea. Enters the battlefield, you get a scry 2, which means you look at the top 2 cards, and then you draw a card. Brazen Borrower. One of the other things about blue is that a lot of the creatures have got abilities and spells. Now, for instance, this, of course, came out of a set where they had this whole adventure idea going, kind of a sub-theme within that release. And what you find, of course, it's got an instant ability which allows it to return a target non-land permanent to a controller's hand, but also it is a creature you can play as well. It's got flash, it's got flying. Now, it can only block creatures with flying, but it's a 3/1. And so it's one of those situations where you can bait somebody into attacking you, play this, block their creature. Yeah, maybe they both die, but you were able to possibly seal some type of a strategic victory with that. Possibly even could win you the game if it was for lethal damage. Cloudkin Seer. Flying, whenever it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Once again, talking about this whole idea of card advantage. Frost Breath. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap stage. That is very powerful. So whenever you think of blue, what you're trying to do as a blue player is you're trying to control the tempo of the game. You're trying to slow it down. And the reason you're slowing it down is because you've got some very, very big, powerful spells that you're going to try to get into play. For instance, Boon of the Wishgiver allows you to draw 4 cards, but it costs 6 mana. Shark Typhoon. Now, also just to mention real quick, it has cycling, so you can discard it to draw another card as well. So if it's in your hand and you can't play it till later, you could discard it to draw a card as well. Shark Typhoon. I threw this one in here just to kind of give you an idea of what I mean by what blue can do for you. This is a 6-drop. Takes 6 mana to get in play. And it says whenever you cast, and it's an enchantment, so it just stays in play. It says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying sharks, where X is the spell's mana value. I love that. And of course, it has cycling also. And it says when you cycle Shark Typhoon, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. So you can cycle it also if you don't quite have the land to be able to pull it off. But if you can pull it off and get it into play, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's mana value. That means you would create a 6/6 if you cast this, a 6/6 with flying shark token. If you look at this, it'd be a 3/3. Now, some of these other ones, they're not very much because this is just a deck I threw together just as an example. But like, for instance, Opt, it'd be a 1/1. Miscast would be a 1/1. Stern Dismissal, 1/1. A 2/2, 2/2. I don't know if that would count because it's an enchantment. I'm not sure how that would work. Well, that's a non-creature spell, so it would probably be a 2/2. This here, the instant, would actually be a 2/2. And Frost Breath, of course, would be a 3/3. But probably the greatest one I have in this specific deck would be a 6/6 because of the Boon of the Wishgiver. So what are you doing? Well, what you're really doing with this deck is real simple. You're drawing cards. You're slowing down your opponent until you can get something like Shark Typhoon in play. Unless you have some way of accelerating your mana, which natively within the blue color, I don't know if you do or don't. I'm not much of a blue player. I'm going to be very, very honest. But if you do, you could possibly get this out even earlier. If you don't, turn 6, you'd plop this into play. The next turn, you could pop down the Boon of the Wishgiver and have a 6/6 with flying. That's not bad. Now, during that meantime, you have to keep in mind you're playing against an opponent who's trying to kill you. Now, if they're playing a white weenie deck, it's hard to negate. It's hard to Stern Dismissal a bunch of 1/1s. But you can play a miscast to make sure that they're not getting maybe an important artifact or an important sorcery into play that's giving their guys a boost. Or whenever they do boost up one of their people, maybe that's when you go ahead and Stern Dismissal it. So you're slowing them down. Against a green deck, this is even more powerful because a green deck's not as fast. Now, there are some ramp green decks that, buck the system. And there's elf decks, of course. But just as a big stompy green deck, you could use this to just slow that thing up. And you can slow it down quite a bit. And by the time that they would actually be able to start playing again and actually be able to overcome everything you've been doing to them to slow them down, you may well already have this in play. So anyways, I just want to go over why to play blue. I'm going to work on trying to get out the black, the red, and the green out in the next day, 2 days. I'm not going to lie, with the holiday weekend, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out. But most importantly, I appreciate you all tuning in. And if you've enjoyed this content, hit the like, hit the subscribe at the button. We thank you.